think probably another fortnight to work on it. He had to get his, because he had a irregular pattern, so they had to put him under and then restart him.
I was meant to catch up for a coffee and I never got round to it. What kind of friend is that?
Hey everyone. What else you got? Joel, could you just do me a favour and on that seat?
I just got one serious five.
Joel, could you just do me a favour and on that seat?
I just got one serious five.
Oh, I'm good.
What, six?
Right, I'm ready. Who wants to interview me? Just joking. Right. Here you go. There's another one for you. That's from our Vice Chancellor. And TVNZ hasn't got one. Who's from TVNZ? Do you want one of these?
Thanks.
Right. Just bring them over here. Is that light okay? Do you want me to pull up the blinds or anything? Anyone?
Are we waiting for anyone else's news on?
They're in,
Oh!
Yeah.
Sorry.
But right now.
they're in the car.
What's happening?
Council meeting about Stewart Island.
Oh, right.
tourism.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, see you. Bye. Gosh, you got a huge team. All these guys are coming in saying they're from Critic.
Everyone, right? Contributing right.
You wrote one story 2 years ago and you can get a new year, right?
Yeah. Come on.
Afternoon.
These days will just give a bit of an account of the actions of that day with that flat and then be open to your questions.
So we'll just go around and introduce actually, I think, should we?
Okay.
So you're from
New South, I'm Hannah.
Hannah, from News Hub. This is Jared O'Brien.
Joey.
Yeah.
Charlie Critic.
Charlie.
Oh, Evelyn, correct?
Charles Critic.
Tim from RNZ.
Darren from Chelsea.
And Cameron.
I'm Mike from TVNZ.
G'day, Mike.
Chris from Otago.
Thanks from staff. Charlie.
Good, thanks.
Thanks everyone.
So on the day in question, I was working in the North Dunedin area, visiting student flats. I was delivering face-to-face information to students surrounding initiation events, how to be a good host and how to keep themselves safe. So I went to the flat in question. The rear sliding door was wide open. I knocked on the door. I yelled out. There was no reply. I knocked again. And while standing there in plain sight, just inside the room were 3 cannabis smoking bongs. I made the decision at that time to deal with that situation myself. Wrongly, with the benefit of hindsight, I entered the room and I seized those 3 items and then left, closing the door as I left. My intention in doing that was so that I could deal with the situation at a proctorial level, so that I could deal with the students without involving police. With the benefit of hindsight, that was the wrong decision. It was the decision I made in good faith, and my intent at the time was to give the best possible outcome for the students involved.
Just the one flat? Dave? Just the one flat you entered?
Yes.
So there have been other flats that have claimed similar events have taken place. Is that correct in any way, shape or form?
So I guess I've been here in the role of proctor for 2.5 years. I've visited countless flats and dealt with countless students. To the best of my knowledge, at any other occasions, I can recall being in backyards of addresses where I was on picnic tables that I've seized. With the benefit of hindsight, that was wrong, and that's something that clearly I need to change my process. I'm human. I've made an error here, an error of judgment. But my focus is on what's best for students. I'm not out there seeking for negative outcomes for students. I'm about, this institution's about students obtaining degrees and qualifications. It's not about them gaining convictions. So, I have made a mistake here, and I'm willing to learn from it. And I think that, but again, my focus was on students.
You talk about convictions, there's a push now for private prosecution. Any reaction to that at all?
Surrounding private prosecution of myself.
Mm.
Look, I'm open to scrutiny. Should the students involved or anyone else want to take this matter to police or to the University of Otago or to any other forum, this has happened. I'm taking responsibility for it. I'm a human. I've made an error of judgment on this occasion. I've apologised to the flat in question this afternoon for what I did. I give an assurance that I'll learn from this situation and that won't be repeated.
Do you accept that you broke the law?
Given the situation that I faced on that day, I made a judgment call based on my experience, based on what was in front of me. I made the decision that, with the benefit of hindsight, was wrong to enter that flat. Unlawful, that wasn't my intention at all. My intention was to deal with the students involved in that flat and to give them a good outcome, use it as a learning opportunity for that. And the outcome for that flat was that they tidied up their section, that was the outcome.
So there's commentators today suggesting that it may not be burglary, that it may be illegally in a building, or it may be theft. Would you dispute either of those two?
Well, I don't think that's for me to make a decision on. How I see it is I'm not above scrutiny. There's plenty of learned people out there that can make a decision on that. As I've said to you, I myself have looked at it and I know that I've got this wrong, and I'm willing to learn from it. Does that make me a criminal? I don't believe so. Since being here at the university, my focus has been solely on students and their welfare. I invite you to go and talk to the OUSA president or the OUSA student support manager. My focus has been almost solely on doing things better for students around here. I have overstepped on this occasion. Does that make me a bad person? No, it makes me human. This was a situation that could have been dealt with differently, and that's where it is. That's what it is.
You haven't entered any other unoccupied student flats, seized any other bonds. What about other staff within the Proctor's office or campus watch? Have you got assurances from them that this hasn't happened in the past?
I haven't asked that question of them, but to the best of my knowledge, that hasn't occurred.
With the benefit of hindsight, in that same situation, what would you have done differently?
Joel, I think I would have gone back when the students were home. I would have closed the door and I would have left, and I would have come back and spoken to the students when they were home about the situation and gone from there. And I think that will be my best case, what I will do in the future, in occasions like this.
Are you facing any disciplinary action from university?
Not to my knowledge. The Vice-Chancellor is aware of what's happened here, and I guess she knows the manner in which I go about my duties. My focus is on pastoral care. This is a one-off mistake that I've made that I'm willing to learn from. But if that is an outcome that the university is interested in pursuing, again, I'm not above scrutiny, and if that happens, that happens. I'm willing to, I'm here today fronting. I'm not hiding from what I've done. I've made an error, and the outcome will be the outcome.
How did you dispose of the bong?
So that there were 3 bongs in question. They were broken and put in a skip.
How did you know they had been used? Was it obvious, or?
Yeah, it was obvious that they were, they smell, there's the remnants, there's, it was, they lived in my office for the best part of a week, and they extremely smelly, so yeah.
But you need that entry to establish that. It's not obvious from the outside that they've been used for illegal drugs.
That is a good question, in that water bongs are usually used for smoking cannabis, but I concede that they could be used for smoking other things that aren't illegal. Normally, when the bong itself is a homemade example, which one of the items was on this occasion, normally they're more often than not used for cannabis smoking as opposed to flavoured tobacco.
You could have taken the matter to the police, but you didn't. Why did you act like a buffer for the students?
So, my role is pastoral care, so to act almost as a pseudo-parent. So on occasions where students have got it wrong, to hold them accountable, to have them make the learnings that are there, and for it not to have a far-reaching consequence. So if I was to report this matter to police, potentially police would come and may choose to use their search and surveillance powers, which would mean they'd go right through the flat. So if they did that and they located other items of interest, that may lead to the student facing criminal charges, which may then lead to a conviction. Now, a conviction for a drug-related offence for a student entering the workforce means that you tick the box for, do I have a criminal conviction? Means that student faces difficulty getting jobs. It also means that student may not be able to travel. So the reason I chose to deal with it myself is that it keeps the student out of the court, deals with it at a low end, but there is still a consequence for that student.
Was it explained to those students the consequences of that before they went public?
So I did go back and speak to that flat the next day, and we did. There was some conversation about, cannabis smoking. There's also a health aspect to this, potentially. Smoking cannabis and turning up to classes and being in a good learning state to take on board what's being taught to you. So part of the role is to go back and have a conversation with students. There was a consequence that was to tidy up the yard, and that was the end of the matter. The one thing I would do differently would be that I wouldn't have entered the flat and taken the bongs.
And to be clear, this is a decision that you've made in the spur of the moment. There's no authority from the Vice-Chancellor or anyone else above you on the chain for this sort of action?
Not at all. Like I fully, this is my mistake. I own it. I made a decision based on what I had in front of me, and with the benefit of hindsight, looking back at it now, it was wrong.
You met with OUSA President Caitlin Barlow-Grimm earlier today. What did you discuss, and do you have any meetings with OUSA planned?
So yes, I did meet with Caitlin today, because Caitlin has an interest on behalf of OUSA. Obviously, this involves students, and being the OUSA president, she wants to know what's going on, what happened. So basically, it was an overview of what's taken place here. Caitlin gave me some information surrounding what the students involved wanted as an outcome, and so part of that was I went and visited the flat today to apologise for what happened.
How did they do it?
They accepted my apology. Only one flatmate was home at the time, and I'm happy to go back and speak to the other ones, but they accepted my apology.
And if there are students claiming similar incidents earlier this year, should they be coming forward to make their concerns here?
If that's the case, I want to be better at this job. I want to be better at what I do. So if that is the case, let them come forward But I give an assurance that I have made a mistake on this occasion, and that mistake, I do give an assurance of that.
Do you have a personal opinion on the cannabis laws as they stand?
No, I don't. So basically, I'm working off New Zealand law, and currently within New Zealand, it's illegal to possess cannabis and cannabis utensils. And so basically, that's what I'm using as a baseline to work off. So no, I don't have a personal opinion on it.
Okay. But when you're a police officer, would you arrest someone that was found in possession of a bong with cannabis residue in it, for example?
So I guess again, I
Or
would
would
be,
you seize that bong as a warning?
yeah, as part of the warning in the police process. But I'm not a policeman anymore. I'm the proctor, so I don't work by those rules anymore. So, in answer to your question, yes, and as a policeman, you would, as part of the consequence, the bong would be seized, and that would be as evidence, and likely as part of the outcome, it would be destroyed.
Are you aware of the change.org petition that's online today? Do you have a response to that?
Could you just give me a bit more background? about that?
The change.org, there's a petition online calling for you to resign.
Right, yes, I am aware of that.
What's your response to that?
I've been here for 2.5 years, and I worked tirelessly surrounding improving processes within the Proctor's office to benefit students. Now, I have, that includes coming in on weekends, that includes coming in the wee small hours of the morning, it includes changing in policy and best practice, a development of a student bill of rights, ensuring that an OSA student services advocate is in a room when I'm talking to someone about serious discipline. So I've done a lot of good in 2.5 years. I've made one error of judgment here that I'm sitting before you now taking responsibility for. I want to be very good at what I do. I think I already am, but that doesn't mean there's not room for improvement. So, yep, if they're calling for my head, that's their prerogative. But I think that's, one error of judgment in 2.5 years on one side and all the good work I've done on the other, and again, I invite you, go and talk to the OUSA president, go and talk to OUSA student support manager, go and talk to students. One error doesn't mean you're not a good proctor.
You're not counting the Critic magazine error in that. You took the blame for that. I understand it was your staff, but you put your hand up for that, didn't you?
Like totally separate situations. But ultimately, the Proctor's office, I am the head of the Proctor's office, and if my staff are involved, the buck stops here. That was a communication breakdown. It's something that I deeply, the suggestion was it was around censorship. That wasn't the case. Same as for this occasion here. If I could get into my time machine and go back and change, I'd do that in a heartbeat. I can't.
There's a public law expert who's said today that this is part of a sort of worrying trend, as they put it, citing those other examples. A view on that?
A worrying trend in relation to?
In relation to the university having its power or authority.
The parents from around New Zealand, their children here to get an education. Their expectation is that not only get a world-class education, but also do so in a lawful, safe way. And that's the pastoral care that gets delivered by my office on a daily basis. And I think that Critic, by raising this issue into the light and having it explored, has clearly pointed out to me that I've got this wrong. So on occasions where I'm operating in some grey area, there are capable guardians out there that will speak up on behalf of students and hold me accountable, and I think that's a pretty safe place to be.
Any more questions, guys? Cool, thanks Phil, thanks for coming. Cheers, Dave. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep. Some streaming there, so the students who couldn't come in could see that. That's good. Right. So as you see, there's a statement from the Vice-Chancellor as well, and so she has recognised obviously the gravitas and put that together for us today as well, so appreciate if you could incorporate that somehow into whatever you report.
It's a long one.
Shift that down so you can. Okay. That's great. So that we have.
The top one is
Yeah. I won't.